Facebook ads. I feel like it's a conversation we have with clients quite often, and we've kind of discussed the journey that different types of businesses have taken. Like you've got B2C and B2B, and that's changed a lot through COVID. And how has Facebook ads been impacted by that and the iOS update?
Obviously, iOS made a massive change in April in 2021. Was it 2021, 2022 now? Can't remember now.
I think it was 2021.
2021, yeah. Yeah,
Because we had COVID in 2020, didn't we?
Yeah.
And it wasn't then, because Facebook ads were flying then.
Yeah, so April 2021 killed Facebook ads as we know it, and I think people are still stuck looking at Facebook ads in the same way that they were back then, where you can do an ad hyper targeted, get really strong results for really low cost per conversion on it, get a lot of sales for a low cost effectively. Whereas now I think you just need to be looking at Facebook ads differently. It's more like a billboard advertisement where you can get a lot of eyeballs for a fairly low cost, and I think that is more what you should be looking at from a Facebook ad perspective these days. Although you've got competition on TikTok and stuff for getting eyeballs for a low cost, but I suppose it depends on your target market. Like your younger market is probably better placed for TikTok, whereas your older is for Facebook. I think it's just shifting that kind of way that you approach the ads.
Yeah. Because with Facebook ads, it's very much kind of like reaching out to a colder audience, or that's what we've used it for previously.
Yeah, unless you do retargeting and stuff, but I mean that's got worse as well. So yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So the B2B we've used kind of like maybe combined Google ads to draw someone into the website, but then we've used like retargeting to keep people in like a constant marketing funnel. So you already know that person is a potential customer, but then you remarketing to them. And that's been quite powerful in getting not only brand awareness, but actually driving some leads in B2B.
Yeah.
But B2C is kind of just dropped off a cliff to some degree.
At the moment, yeah. But I think that's reflective of the economy in general as well. So, yeah.
Because during COVID, because a lot of people were furloughed and they had a lot of kind of like, they still had their wage.
Disposable income.
But they just couldn't spend their money on anything like going out to restaurants or anything like that. But now, so all their money was kind of focused on spending online, and there were all these kind of cool products that were popping up on your Facebook and Insta feed. And now it's kind of flipped the other way to some degree because all the restaurants and the pubs are open again. But and then we're in a cost of living crisis as well on top of that. So
I think it's still wet. I think there's still a strong place for it. I just think it's changing that the place where you used to use it before. I think before you could be hyper targeted, you get a lot of leads, a lot of sales, whereas now you shouldn't be looking at it from that perspective anymore. Using that as a benchmark, it's just not going to work anymore for that. And I think chasing that is going to lead to a lack of success. So you need to be still using it, but using it in a way that is maximising the benefit of that platform these days.
I don't know much about this because I'm less techie than you. But the whole is Chat GPT. Is that right? AI?
Chat GPT.
GPT. So, yeah, Chat GPT has like all of a sudden become a thing, or a thing that a lot of people now know about. And from my understanding of it, it's kind of basically getting AI to write content.
Yeah.
But it's quite revolutionary to some degree because it actually sounds like a person's written it, and from the tests that we've done, it does actually seem pretty good. Like it's quite believable. Like I think we've got a blog on our website that half of it is written by
ChatGPT.
Yeah, and then the rest of it's written by you.
Yeah,
and that's to highlight that the level of complexity that it can go into. I suppose, is that a good thing? Can it help businesses and people in marketing? Should people be intimidated by it? Is it going to take people's jobs? That type of thing.
I think I mean, AI content writing's been a thing for a long time now, years. And I mean, Google's latest search engine update punished AI content, and this was before ChatGPT. So I don't really think we need to necessarily worry about stuff like that. I think it's tweaking those tools to use them in a way that's actually useful. I don't think writing content for websites and stuff like that is very good from an AI perspective. I don't think it ever will be, because you just lose that human touch with it. Use that human nature.
relevance.
Yeah. And if it makes mistakes as well, then you've got mistakes in there that just don't make sense.
Yeah. It's not like a spelling mistake. It's like an actual.
Yeah. There was a client yesterday I was chatting to, and he put some question in about his field of work, and it had pulled out a piece of information that sounded really convincing but was literally completely wrong. So it was, so a bit of historical information that was linking back to something, and it was just actually wrong, but it sounded really convincing in the way they used it. So stuff like that, I think that you're always going to have those issues. But I mean, Microsoft are literally pegged to be making like a $10 billion investment in ChatGPT, with the thought that they're probably going to integrate it into Bing. So that, I think like that's more the kind of thing where it becomes interesting, where if you search engine, you can ask it questions that it can almost answer at this point. So it's not just a search engine and a database of deliverables. You'll be able to ask it something that it'll be able to answer directly.
So like on your
Ask Jeeves, but in 2023.
So like on your Google Home, rather than saying, "I'm sorry, I can't get that answer for you right now," it actually gives you the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like Google's assistant's far beyond any of the others. So if you're going to invest in something to make a dent, it makes sense to be this. But
I feel like Alexa was the first one that kind of came out and that had the brand name that was associated with that kind of product. But I feel like Google have just done it better.
Well, it doesn't have the data that Google has. Google's got so much data to pull from. So yeah. I don't think it'll ever be a proper thing of writing content and using it to write content blogs. It just doesn't feel right. I don't think it'll work properly. Could be wrong, but I think everyone's getting a bit worried and up in arms about something that ain't going to happen, to be honest.
Yeah, because we're going through a bit of a transition period where I think privacy is now more at a forefront of what people prioritize in their kind of technology. I think maybe 5, maybe even 10 years ago, people didn't necessarily care. They just wanted as much as the internet as that it possibly had to offer. But now the internet has kind of almost overwhelmed and consumed us to some degree, that now it's like, right, back off a bit. Like I want like the whole, I mean, there is a massive power play from Apple, like the iOS update. I do feel like that is yeah. I'm losing my train of thought, but
yeah. I think AI faces and deepfakes is more of a concern.
Yeah,
than
massively.
Writing some content online,
because even now on like memes on Twitter and stuff like that, like it'll show like a picture of someone. It's just not them. It's just they've just put it through like some like old person filter on like like your phone or something like that. Yeah, which is which is concerning, because now they can do it with video as well. So
yeah, that's more of an issue. I think text. Don't see it.
So how do you feel like moving on to Twitter? And I feel like obviously Elon Musk has taken over Twitter, and he's run very famous businesses.
Yeah.
And how do you see that trajectory? Do you think it'll work? What do you think initially? What do you think when it comes to marketing? Because we've used Twitter ads previously and they've been pretty shit. Yeah.
I think Twitter's existed. We've been able to use Twitter for all these years for like our own personal use, and it's just been an unsuccessful business. So I feel like we've usually in social media, like you are the product, like your ads are what makes the money, and like Facebook's ad platform, Instagram, all that, it all works. Like it makes a lot of money. Twitter just is crap. It's always been crap. And it's not really improved massively. I mean, when you look at where Facebook ads were 5 years ago and look at where Twitter ads are 5 years ago, Twitter ads are pretty much roughly in the same place. They're not very far from there. And the business in general, as Twitter as a business, has been doing bad for a long time. People just like it as a platform. So I feel like it needed a shake-up. Otherwise, I mean, it was going to die. It wouldn't survive. Despite it being this, what we perceive to be like a behemoth, it's not a profitable business. There's only so long you can run as a non-profitable business like that. So I feel like it needed a shake-up. And I think some of the stuff that he's talking about, when you actually pull yourself out of listening to the ecosphere of Twitter people complaining about it, I think he's providing a shake-up in the right way that needs to be. Talking about like creators are what make money on your platforms. People go to platforms to follow creators. YouTube is probably the best at that. And then if you have the creators, people want to go onto the platform to follow them or to listen to them or whatever that is. And then from that, advertisers make money off those people coming to the platform in the first place. So I think focusing on the creator economy, that kind of side of things, is probably the smart move. I think he'll just make loads of changes and try and break things and see what works, see what doesn't work. I feel like that's what it needed, to be honest. It's quite a big shake-up, and I feel like people don't like shake-ups, but realistically, it's probably what it needed. He's quite a controversial character, I suppose, and I think some people maybe hate Elon Musk the person and maybe not what he's doing on the actual kind of from Twitter perspective. So I use Twitter quite a lot because it provides a good news feed. Although now that I've started using Reddit more, I do feel like that is more relevant because I can hone into the communities and the type of news that I want to see, and it kind of reduces some of the noise and some of the other bullshit that you see on Twitter that I was like, that just irritates me. But even over since that takeover has happened, I feel like it is getting more interesting, and it is showing me more relevant stuff like football and games and music and stuff. I think it's been changing loads. I've seen there was a period where I saw a lot of people complain about stuff, and at the same time I was getting less relevant stuff in my feed, and now it's switched back, so they're obviously changing stuff. I just think Twitter's best placed at doing real quick content stuff that's quite time sensitive is usually what it's best at. Like, it's not like YouTube, you can watch a video from 5 years ago and it'll still can still be a good video, but Twitter, you're not going to look at a tweet from 5 years ago and care about it. Like, it's quite hyper relevant to that time. So it's balancing that along with actually making money and allowing people to stay on the platform as well. Like, at the moment, if you're a creator or whatever, you're posting on Twitter, generally it's to send people away from Twitter often. So you have a conversation with people, but then it's like you're posting your link to a piece of content or whatever it is, or a website, you're taking people away. So it's about trying to keep people on the platform and using the platform as a resource, which I don't feel like is done as much at the moment. So I know there's rumours of them starting to do Twitter coins, which are like Twitch, where you can buy bits and then you can reward like streamers and give them a tip, basically. Same thing here, as you can give creators tips for stuff. But also, I don't know if you've seen on Reddit, you can award people's posts, I've seen that. Which is basically like a pointless. I don't think you get any money for it. It's like it's just like a little badge. Yeah, it's just like kudos. Well, they're doing that as well. So they're saying like there's signs of like awards, like a mind blown award and stuff like that you pay for with the coins. So you buy coins with real money, and then you can tip the coins to people, or you can pay for awards, which is just like Reddit basically. So I feel like people will do that. So they'll give like awards to like good pieces of content potentially. So then that's interesting. But then stuff like the news of like longer tweets becoming a thing. Next month, apparently raising the cap to like 4,000 characters. And then does that mean you just say, surely it has to read more? This is what I don't know, Because otherwise you then just got this big piece of thing. And then that just destroys the whole app.
So it can't work like that.
Well, then it becomes like Facebook, doesn't it, as well? Which
Yeah.
So I don't know how that'll go. I think I've seen more Twitter threads than ever in the past year. I would say more people are posting tweets.
A thread with a little thread emoji.
Yeah, and
like,
doing like 20 tweets.
Yeah.
That all line up, and I think that's why they're looking at doing longer form stuff. Because there's obviously more people doing that. But then I feel like there's actually a novelty towards to reading a thread, so like breaking it up into, because often the threads are kind of like each tweet covers like a portion of this topic, and I feel like that works in a sense. Whereas if you then just get a lump of text, then that's just like a Facebook post, which is boring. So you switch off to it. I'm more likely to consume a thread across 10 different tweets that covers like 1,500 characters or whatever it is than I am a Facebook post that's 1,500 characters long. So I don't know. Stuff like that, I think they'll just test and try and see what works. But yeah, extending videos, I think they'll go into video more. Videos becoming massive. So that kind of stuff, uploading longer videos has already been a thing, talking about doing that. So yeah, there's ways to leverage that. I think the best way, to be honest, Twitter can leverage videos and be relevant is live streams. They bought Periscope years and years ago and didn't really use it, and then I think it kind of went defunct. But I feel like that's where it makes sense.
They've got the Spaces thing, haven't they?
Yeah, which that's good as well.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
But if the whole platform revolves around relevant latest news kind of posts, that's what a live stream is ultimately, but in a video form. So, and maybe that's why they're looking at doing the coins thing, which is a bit like Twitch, which is a live streaming platform. That's probably the correlation there. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But I think it needed to shake up. I think that's the only way it remains profitable.
I feel like Facebook is also edging towards that. It needs something. It's getting really, not only from like, if we're trying to manage like from a marketing company's perspective, trying to manage people's like social accounts, but also managing their ads, the whole back end is just, you could almost like write like a huge book about this thick about how to frigging just navigate the back end of Facebook.
Yeah.
But then I think the actual app itself has just never become more tedious, and I just don't find, for me anyway, and that might just be my social media journey, it's just boring. It's just really boring.
I think Facebook's changed as to what it's useful for, though, isn't it? Like Messenger's massive. Facebook groups are more bigger than ever.
Yeah. Like your village community groups. Yeah, they're still pretty big.
Like you follow groups of like topics you're interested in, and then your feed becomes stuff you're interested in. Like I'm in like a drone group, stuff like that. I feel like that's where it works better now.
Yeah, it does, because there's so many people on Facebook. So, like, the majority of people on Facebook, so the groups, especially like the localized groups or the interest groups, are more likely to get more people. Whilst I feel like Reddit, there's a certain amount of people, there's a certain demographic that know about and like Reddit, and I do feel like it is more male, and I do think it is probably more like 20 to 30s, maybe 40-year-old men.
Yeah.
Like, I'm guessing. Don't know, I haven't looked at the research, but from my conversations I have with people, it does seem a bit more like that. Whilst Facebook, you've just got loads of people on there. Maybe not the, I don't really know, but that's just my perception of it. So we've been running Superfly for nearly 10 years. 10 years running a small to medium-sized business. Well, we were aiming to kind of make it into a medium-sized business, but just started off, me and you, 10 years ago, in our mid-20s, just winging it. Still winging it.
Still winging it.
Yeah. But I feel like we've got a bit more knowledge and we've made some big mistakes, but learned from that. I feel like running a business is very much kind of, you constantly get beaten down. You have wins, but you also have like things that really knock your confidence, and then you have to be like, right, come on, we've got to do this again. So what do you think's the hardest part or some of the hardest parts of that? It's quite a profound question.
Yeah, it is a profound question.
I feel like,
I think for me, the hardest part of running a business is learning to switch off.
yeah,
I think that's been a journey for me. Is spent many years working on holidays, just not, constantly replying to emails and stuff. I think that has been the biggest thing for me, is that, once a year you get Christmas where everyone switches off, and that's like the one time you get a true break.
Christmas is great for that.
And even when you switch off, you've still got to be there, because there's always still something that could come up that only you can kind of deal with or whatever.
Well, we have clients that some clients do rely on us for like the web person and stuff like that. So we do need to keep on top of it. And with you and me as well, I suppose we've kind of naturally done that to some degree, because it's our responsibility. It's our business. It's like a family business as well. So there's quite a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I think that's probably it for me. I think, that's probably the toughest thing for me. I'm okay with like challenges, like things that beat you down a bit and then reevaluating. But I think that's because I'm more logical, you're more emotional with it.
Yeah. I'm like devastated and you're like, right, okay. But that helps me though, because then that pulls me out of that.
Yeah.
Whilst I sometimes get more offended or more down and like sometimes when, I don't know, like when someone leaves out the blue or you lose a client or I don't know, someone don't pay you or something like that.
Yeah.
And it just kind of really pisses me off, or it just gets like, I feel quite down about it. But then I think that's good about being in it together. Like if it was just me, I don't think I could actually do it. Yeah. Like I would, because we've got that, we're able to talk together and kind of pull each other through. Because there has been some times where you've been like, oh, this is a fucking joke. Like what are we going to do here to some degree? But that's definitely more. It definitely comes more from me.
Yeah.
You're definitely more logical.
I think so. I think for me, like, I'm pretty good at leaving it at the door from an emotional perspective, but just from a work perspective, I think I've always struggled with about being like, that can wait till tomorrow. In my head, we've always tried to have that like service level of, responding to things really quickly, where other businesses just, sometimes you come across other people who have had bad experiences where they don't have responses for weeks, and sometimes they're just like okay with that. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I need a response within like hours. That's your high expectation of yourself there, and I think to some degree. Yeah. So I think being able to be like, actually, that this person doesn't actually really care until tomorrow. If it's a non-urgent thing like that, I think that leaving that at the door, I think that's been harder for me.
And let's face it, the majority of things in marketing are non-urgent. Yeah. They're not going to like...
Unless it's like a website down or finance related or something. Yeah.
No one's house is going to burn down, hopefully.
Yeah.
Because of a Facebook ad or a retargeting ad that we've done on Instagram. We never know, but I'd like to hope not. Yeah. I think I've been on a similar journey because I was on my own for a year before you joined. I think I was worse because Tony, my wife, she had a job where she was working, because she was travelling to Whitby and not North Yorkshire. I ended up just sitting in front of my computer all the time. So then clients, but not only did I just take any work for any price pretty much, but then clients just assumed that I would just respond.
I think that's where lockdown was worse, because you literally at home on your computer.
Yeah.
So I would just end up working late every night.
Yeah, I would.
Because you're just smashing through things and you're well, I'll keep going till 6 o'clock or whatever, 6:30.
But that was really bad because like you were working from your house and like I was working in my bedroom. So I'd sit in front of my computer and I'd be on my computer all day, and then I'd literally turn around and there's my bed. It's like there's no like break between work and home life. And when I feel like those start to mesh too much, that's when problems occur.
Yeah.
not only in the business but in your personal life as well. From my experience, especially having 2 young kids recently as well, you need structure and you need that balance. And I learned the hard way, but I feel like I'm doing all right now. I think it's like but the thing is, bad stuff can happen, can't it? But it's how you then react and then how you build your life after that, isn't it? And how you change and the actual things that you change in your working life and in your personal life to figure it out. It's like something goes wrong, but then you're like, right, I need to change that a little bit, and then obviously you can't flip the other way, otherwise your life becomes really bipolar. But I suppose you've got to do it in your own way of figuring it out and making mistakes and just working out what's right for you and everyone around you as well.
Yeah.
Like when it was me and you, it was great. It was really fun. It was just like basically just doing work, and like we didn't have any kids, and like I wasn't even married at that point. And it was just me and you sat in an office probably like this size, and we kind of just had a laugh at every single day. And I ruined your life through playing my music, and then one day you said, "Nick, I'm not listening to your music anymore." So then we got headphones.
It's like 4 p.m. I'm like, I don't need Metallica right now. I'm not feeling that right now.
Yeah. And I'm like, it's like, yeah, okay, I can crack on with this website now. But I felt like it was a big change when we got a first team member, and that was a big dynamic change. And then because all of a sudden you're kind of responsible for someone else. Like you built a business and you built enough to pay our wages and pay the costs. Then when you start, and then you get to this natural level where you need someone else in order to actually do the work. Otherwise you can't. There's only so much time in the day that we have. Then taking that step to that is the biggest challenge I think I've had, because I get emotionally involved with the people as well, and I want them to be a big part of the business, and I often do want the best for them, and then it's just challenging kind of navigating that. And then people leave, of course they leave, like it's just normal. But then coming to terms with that and not taking that personally, I found that quite hard. But now I'm getting better at that, and I think now we've got a really good team, and I'm looking forward to bringing in more people, and yeah, I do overall enjoy that challenge, and I don't think I did to start off with, but now I definitely do. And yeah.
What are we thinking about Love Island not letting the families run the social media this year?
I think it's for the best, but it's going to make a massive turn to what happens after the island more than inside the island, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think people are going to be less likely to go to, obviously, their social media because they'll just see content from months ago, and they're less likely to engage with that, I suppose, aren't they?
Yeah, like, not fresh, not come in.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult, I think, because obviously a lot of them come out of it and then get massive brand deals from what their families have been posting, the fact they've been keeping up with what's going on in the island, but none of that's going to be there. It's very likely that they probably won't even get a big enough following to get brand deals afterwards.
I don't know if it's changed because there's a lot more compared to when it first, like Love Island first started. You didn't really have influencers.
Yeah.
So everyone who was in there, you didn't really know anything of beforehand. Yeah. Whereas now there's loads, like especially this like set coming out now. Yeah. People from TikTok influencers, there's normal influencers. I think that's the difference. Maybe they don't need it as much.
Yeah, I suppose a lot of them went to TV after the first couple of seasons, didn't they? Like Danny Dyer and people like that. Like Kim and Chris, was it? Someone?
Yeah.
Yeah, they, like, I don't know, it's really weird because I think people are going to have to come out of Love Island now and kind of put effort in still to be able to get that up again and start actually, I guess, getting a following and then getting brand deals and things. But yeah, whether they need it or not, I don't know. I suppose it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because they're going to come out and have to try and fend for themselves, essentially. Assuming that people don't follow them, because it's very likely that people still might actually go and continue following people regardless, just to keep up with them after.
Yeah, especially Love Island, the accounts themselves are posting, even
the
little clips and that, and you want to find people afterwards. Like I've done it before, I never follow them, but I'll look on their accounts. Yeah. And I guess if it's dead where the people haven't been posting, it's going to completely change the dynamic.
Yeah, or you might end up seeing like the real version of them. It might be a bit of like a wake-up call, because anytime I find it's weird when you look at people's Instagrams from Love Island, you go on it, if you scroll down, it's completely different, like seeing what they've posted. Yeah. So it's like compared to seeing like what they're like in the show, it's a strange, like, it's a bit jarring sometimes, depending on what kind of
And
content
it's
you use
all
to
old
post.
photos.
Yeah, exactly.
So
And
it just doesn't, it doesn't add up at all.
Yeah, you end up kind of digging deeper, I suppose. But I don't know whether people would actually just would still like comment on those and get involved, or if they'd just look and obviously not bother kind of, I don't know, interacting.
Yeah, I guess engagement-wise, it'll be down a lot more.
I'm quite interested to see how many people will follow the accounts regardless of the fact that they won't be getting run. But then a lot of people have been asking if Love Island themselves are going to like allocate people to run it, because obviously the whole point is like to stop the families and friends getting a load of hate for what their family members doing in the island. But I suppose if they got somebody like a professional to do it and just to post bits and pieces here and there, nothing too personal, nothing too specific, it could keep the kind of influencer status of all the accounts without actually having the issues behind it, or they could try and figure out how to monitor it a bit better.
It'll be interesting if they do though, because they haven't like got the ability to keep the tone of voice that the family want to push forward for them.
No, 100%. It'd be very specific, and I suppose it'd be very like, it'd play into what happens in Love Island with like the editing of it and everything, and the fact that they kind of try and villainise some people, and they'd probably be able to push that a lot more on social media, which might end up backfiring a lot more anyway. But it depends on if they even bother touching the social media. But I suppose it's really odd because in today's day and age, social media is such a big thing that I'm really surprised that they've kind of boycotted it this year and they're kind of stopping it. Like, it was a massive deal, wasn't it? Like, go in and people would follow them and get involved, and
even like the week before now the lineups are announced, everyone's already starting to look at their accounts.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I mean, I think one guy was using TikTok for it, and like on his TikTok it was like catch me in the villa and stuff like that. So it's whether like Instagram's off the table, but if other like social media platforms are, TikTok could end up getting a bit of a boost from it, things like that, because if people post the videos on there, realistically they couldn't really say no. They couldn't say that they can't use it.
Definitely.
But I suppose it depends on how it goes. But I don't know whether it means that after this, like you say, they're going to need to have something more than just like a pretty face and a load of followers kind of thing to keep up this like facade after they get out of the villa. I'm not entirely sure. But I don't know. It might be the fall of like the traditional or more modern version of the influencer. They might not be able to just skate by anymore on what they do.
Just come out of the island and that's it handed to them.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they can't, like, so many of them came out with like Pretty Little Thing deals and really big brand deals. They might actually have to work for that now more so than they did before. And I suppose like people like Molly May have kind of proven that the best way to be an influencer is to actually do something more than just get out and be like, okay, cool, I've got followers, I've got money. Like she's tried a little bit harder. She's brought her own brand and things like that. So whether they'll have to be a bit more motivated to do that.
Actually, because she was an influencer before she went in.
Oh, was she?
Yeah.
So I didn't realise that she was.
Yeah. So like I wouldn't say micro, but she definitely had a following before she went in.
Yeah, she did more like fashion and stuff, didn't she? I feel like I remember seeing like, the thing is, I didn't follow it enough to find out enough about her, but yeah, after the fact, she's still like, she's done really well for herself in business and things like that. So she's kind of taken what she had and then built on it. Obviously, I know that like she still had a fairly decent platform to do that on, but she's at least tried a lot more than a lot of other influencers I've seen that have come out of Love Island and just kind of skated by on the brand deals that they got and all the like clothes they get sent and stuff. So I don't know whether it'll be a bit more of like I don't know what's the word, a bit more of like a race to see who kind of succeeds after like the island finishes. Maybe it'll be interesting to see it though.
Definitely.
But yeah, I'm still quite glad that not a lot of people will be getting hate this year.
Oh no, because it gets worse and worse as like it goes, their time in the island goes. Especially if it is not actually true and it is sort of portrayed.
Well, the producers very much have a play in that, don't they?
It's mental to think that's actually the backlash of it. It's not even just people's opinions. It goes really extreme. Yeah, exactly. It gets played into a lot on the show, I think. But yeah, but it'll be interesting to see it this year. So this year, what do we think video content wise? Do we think it's going to be short form is going to keep kind of getting stronger, or do we think long form's going to make a bit of a comeback? I think short form's going to keep growing. I don't think it's hit its peak yet. I think it's definitely on a rise up, especially the ease of it. And with platforms like TikTok, people are still actually getting into TikTok. Yeah. Business is still buying into it. It's not even like hit its peak either yet. No. So I think as that grows, I think short form will, because it's just easier. Yeah. It's easier to make, it's easier to digest. Yeah. A lot more accessible, I suppose, isn't there? Like long form, you've got to have like editing softwares and things like that. You've got to have a fairly decent camera, I think, to do long form.
Like I think
Yeah.
you couldn't do it on your iPhone realistically.
No.
But yeah, I think you're right in respect of it's not hit its peak yet. I think there's so many brands that are just starting to realise that TikTok is actually going to be worth it. And I think this year they're going to see like so many more brands kind of getting involved in it, and then I don't know. I think it'll play into like they'll start using all like existing TikTokers to use like to promote their products and their services and things. But yeah, I think it's really weird because like at the first I think even I like thought I was too old for TikTok when it first came out.
Same.
But I think older people are like, older people in the 20s and 30s are starting to realise that like they can use it as well, and like it's really beneficial for like small businesses as well and freelancers and things like that. Like I think they're kind of starting to understand that it's like it's a good place to kind of push your like what you do, your products and things like that, especially if you sell a product rather than a service.
Yeah.
Because obviously like realistically like we could join TikTok and it'd be great and everything as an agency, but our target market is in Hull or the surrounding areas of Hull. So but people that sell products, that have like businesses that put out like art prints or like people that do scrunchies and things like that, they can sell to anyone in the world. And I think TikTok is really good for a global market to be able to like hit people literally anywhere. Yeah. So I think that's definitely going to think. I have a weird like prediction that long form is going to come back a bit.
Do you think?
I love watching YouTube videos. Like every lunchtime I'm watching YouTube, and I just think really see this is the thing, is like at one point I kind of went a bit off and I was a bit like, oh it's so like not dull, but it just took so long. But I don't know, I think there's still a lot of merit to doing long form, and I think people still appreciate it as more of like a, I hate to say like an art form because like realistically it all is if you're doing video, but it takes a lot more to do a long form piece of content than it does to do short form, I suppose. There's still a lot of work involved, but
from long form, like
exactly.
I watch CEO every week.
I
don't watch anything
exactly.
every week.
Exactly.
But I don't,
you get to know the person a bit more, don't you?
So like it's more time with them technically as well.
Obviously, I think it works different for like different people. I don't think like innocent smoothies could do long form video content because you just get a bit bored of it. But there's like specific, like I think with influencers specifically as well, or like people that are in like the media, it's easier for them to use it because it's a bit more personable. You can get to know the audience a bit better, or the audience can get to know them a bit better. And I think I don't think it's quite going to go away. Whether it's going to actually like get better or like get bigger is a different story. But I don't know. I still think it's going to do something this year. I think it's going to go further, but I don't know how far. I'm not entirely sure yet.
I think there's always going to be space for it. Because where you do build up your loyalty brands, but that want to almost, I don't know, engage their audience a bit more.
Yeah.
It's like TikTok. That's one thing about TikTok. You haven't got any loyalty. I can't tell you who actually many followers or like people that I follow. I
forget the names after I've seen the video.
I follow them and I just won't see them again until they come up on my For You page. I won't actively look for them. Whereas like brands especially, or like businesses that do long form, you look for them. I'll type into YouTube Diary of a CEO.
Yeah, exactly.
Or anything like Grace Beverley, I'll type it in.
Yeah.
But anything else like TikTok or more short form, I just don't.
Yeah, to be honest as well, there's a couple of TikTokers, and I'm going to struggle to remember her name right now. There's one that's moved into doing YouTube videos and like more content on YouTube for even like other brands and things like that. And I really can't remember her name right now, but she did like I think it's is it Grace Barry or someone like that.
Oh yeah, GK Barry.
GK Barry, that's the one. She's gone from doing just like mainly TikToks that were really funny, but people liked her personality, and she's
podcast is hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. So she's moved into like more long form content as well, which I think is really nice to see. And that's another reason that I do think it's going to either have a peak or at least, I'd like you say, it's never going anywhere. I don't think YouTube's ever going to die out to that extent. It's not going to be like Vine. It's not going to one day just absolutely disappear. But I think I don't know, people are still valuing it, and I think there's still like there's a lot of people that want to build a personal brand and be able to like monetize it as well. And you can't realistically monetize short form content to the extent that you can with long form as well, which is quite nice. Like it's good to know that it's always going to be there, I suppose. But yeah, there's a lot of TikTokers that I've seen move over to YouTube as well, or like you say, podcasts and things like that. So I do think long form's going to have a bit of a ride this year, I suppose. I want to see it go somewhere.
Thinking out from a podcast point of view, I do get it, because all I see at the moment is new podcasts, especially from TikTokers.
Yeah, exactly.
There's literally, it's the same sort of people are all starting their own. They're not even like they join each other's, but also they've got their own. Yeah.
I think they work hand in hand quite well as well, like long form and like short form in terms of like long form video, like you said, Diary of a CEO. Like there'll be so much content of that on TikTok, of like snippets taken from it. Even like, you know, like you go through like Instagram and you can see so many reels that has been posted or that other
Yeah.
people have reposted, because people take like the quality of what's in that content and then they kind of just translate it to being a short form video that's just as like good quality wise and just as good, like it's helpful, and like, you know, you get good advice from it and things like that, or like, I don't know, like you get good advice from like what they say, and it's nice to like join those up, I guess, like have them as a bit of a team. People use both to like help the other one, so like the long form will send people to the short form, or like the short form will push them to watching like the rest of the hour-long Diary of the CEO episode.
100%.
I think both have got merit, and I think they're both going to do really well this year. But I like to think that long form is going to have a bit of a
Bit of a comeback.
Yeah.
Guess we'll see.
Yeah.